Welcome to Stretford, Paddock. I'm Ronaldo Brown, and this is the Devils podcast, and I'm here with Joe.
You alright, mate?
Part-time Jesus, part-time Aquaman. And
I don't know. I'll take both compliments. I'll take them as both compliments because they are compliments.
And I'm here with Alex, part-time A-class driver, part-time golfer, full-time Tory.
So what are you then? What can we call you?
What
Part-time footballer.
He's getting this in. I did this because
Listen,
Steven Gerrard, full-time Steven Gerrard's
I was
best
lining
mate.
that up for the last half an hour.
You have been. You've been waiting because this is why we're late.
That's why you were checking your notes because he was rehearsing that line.
He's not got. We've not got any other.
Not notes for us to speak football surrounding United, so I don't really need notes for that.
Liverpool surrounding United. So was it 30 miles away?
Yeah.
You should know. You've done the journey enough times.
Yeah.
Wait, is this a 2v1?
You're the one who
started.
You've come at both of us when you expect nothing back. For God's sake, yeah.
So we're going to talk about United now? Or
Let's talk about a bit about United.
I've asked if he's all right. I'm sure you're all right.
No, I'm very good, mate. How are you?
You're right, Alex?
Yeah, mate. Good.
Good. I'm glad you're doing well, both of you.
No, but what we're here to speak about is
That's better, isn't it?
Welshman Daniel J.
Adam McCall just asked, "Is that Kieran McKenna?" I'm guessing.
No, it's not. But anyway, reports from ESPN. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah.
Solskjaer wants to shop Daniel James to help fund the Sancho move, but apparently the higher ups are not in favour of it. What do you think?
I reckon that I don't understand that it shouldn't have to be we have to sell Dan James to get Sancho in. What, are we only allowed one right winger at the club at any one time?
I was kind
one backup, one winger, one choice. We're never allowed depth on that wing for some reason. I have no idea why they're doing that.
So do you feel like if it's one of those where if you sell Daniel James to help fund the Sancho kind of deal, but you actually don't end up getting any reinforcements in, then you just lose another option in a place where we haven't got that many.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. I can't imagine the fee that we would get for Daniel James is the reason that we can't sign Sancho. Maybe it is. Maybe we just ain't got any money. People keep talking like we've got loads of money. Maybe we haven't. Because we act like we haven't.
Yeah.
And last summer I know that we signed Harry Maguire and Wan-Bissaka, but we sold Lukaku and we got Sanchez and Young and Herrera's wages all off the books as well. Like it was more, almost as many outs as it was ins last summer. Certainly in terms of personnel, I think it was more with Darmian and a few other people leaving as well. So the idea that we've got loads of money and we're not spending it, maybe we just skin. Because that is literally the only way I can sort of stomach what is going on. If we skin, then you sort of go, well, yeah, we are Man United, but the club's been ran so badly that maybe we can't spend any money, we ain't got any money. And then you can sort of go, well, it's shit, but what are you going to do? Because otherwise, it's just so much incompetence from so many layers of the club that you think, at least if we're skint, there's an excuse.
Yeah, but if we are skint, then why are we haggling over 20 million for Jadon Sancho? Why aren't we just signing players that are 35 million or 40 million? Why don't we just say, look, we're not getting Sancho. Let's mention Sarr from Watford, someone like that. Let's just say, look, we can't afford him. Let's get somebody cheap.
Well, that's what we are doing, isn't it?
No,
because
we're not getting anybody.
Listen, it feels all a bit last minute central, doesn't it? You've got 4 days to go, and then all of a sudden you're hearing that you want to shop Daniel James because of a couple of dodgy performances.
Yeah.
It's just a dangerous game if you want to sell him without definitively having anyone else to bring in. It's all right.
It's a dangerous game anyway.
It is a very dangerous game because if you know that the squad isn't that, obviously it's not that extensive in terms of quality, I think we could all see that. If you do then end up selling players that aren't good, Daniel James might not be good enough for United, that might be fair enough, but is it worth, it's just simply not worth getting rid of him if you aren't going to be able to replace him with someone better. And we don't have any confidence in the board or in United at the moment that they will be able to do that before the deadline day is over.
If we have to sell Dan James to get Jadon Sancho in, that says about Dan James that he wasn't a project for the future, that he wasn't some cheap player that might turn out to be better, that he wasn't squad depth. That means that we brought him in to be our number one winger and he wasn't quite good enough. How pathetic is that?
That's worrying.
If we have to sell him to fund the next one, that means he was bought to be our first choice winger. Surely that isn't the case. Surely he was brought to be depth so that when you get Sancho, you've got Dan James underneath him who can play some other games. You've got Mason Greenwood there who can substitute in or rotate in for Sancho or for Martial. But if we have to, since when do we sell players after one season? How bad a season do you have to have? That Alexis Sanchez got 2.5 years or whatever it was at Man United, and Dan James gets one season.
It is true though, because before I move on to you, Alex, what exactly do you expect from a player that was bought from the Championship with basically no weight of
15
expectation.
million quid.
15 million quid.
No,
I spent that on the bus getting here this morning.
Did you?
No, didn't get the bus. Didn't get it this morning. Didn't spend anything. What I'm saying is, it's not much money, is it?
No,
it's not much at all.
I don't get it. I don't get the fact that. I mean, some of them. Talking the other night on the watch along about Dan James, and I think McCullough went. He doesn't care if Dan James got. I agree that I don't think he's quite good enough for Manchester United, but at the same time, we need players. We literally it's bodies at this point. We kept Ambrose Pereira last year, and we knew that he wasn't good enough, but we didn't have anybody else. Now we've got Van der Beek in. You can go. We don't need him now, but right now we don't have. We literally don't have a right winger in the squad. Dan James isn't a right winger. Mason Greenwood, who's starting there, isn't a right winger. So it's all horrendous.
Yeah, we're still like. So Pereira's gone. He's only gone on loan. How come he's getting another loan and Dan James is getting sold?
By the way, Manchester United's way of saying it is Pereira gets another loan was their way of phrasing it today, as if to say we're going to give him another chance to impress. No, we
Dan
need
James
to get rid of him.
Last year
it's just a year delay before
selling. Dan James last year was better than any season Pereira's ever had at United, and he's been given 2 or 3 loans now. Yeah, we ain't got any players on the wings. How come we've been getting rid of one?
Yeah, but do you feel like Solskjaer suggesting this to the board or pointing out there that he wants to sell Daniel James? Do you think that's just his way of putting more pressure on the board to actually buy someone before the transfer window's over?
Maybe he's sort of going, look, I'm willing. Here's what I'm willing to do. I'm even willing to let Dan James go. That's how desperate I am for signings here. Like, I know, he's maybe playing the sort of the fool's game of going, well, if it's money that we need, sell Dan James. He's sort of putting it on the line of going, here's what I'm willing to risk in the squad to get Jadon Sancho through the door. If you need an extra 20 million, sell Dan James. If that's what it'll take, you can sell him. Maybe that's the only way I can assume that there's any truth to this, because surely he knows, Dan James played the other night. Dan James has played 2 of the 4 games we played this season. Like, we haven't got that many. Mason Greenwood's great in that position. He does a lot better than you think he should. 18 years old, playing on the right-hand side when he's a striker. And then it is Dan James, and then we play Mata there for whatever reason.
I think maybe there's something in the fact that we do need to get rid of players, and I think Solskjaer's maybe gone, right, I want you to get rid of Delo, Jones,
Rojo,
Smalling,
Pereira
and Lingard, maybe. Or maybe he's given then, and the board have gone, okay, we'll give this a go. And now it's a week to go. Smalling looks like it'll probably get done, but we've not actually sold anyone else.
That fucking Smalling deal was such a banker from day one.
Yeah.
Oh, you've had him for a season and he was really good. Yeah, do you want him? Yeah. No.
It took forever though.
What do you mean no? We want to get rid of him. You want to buy him?
And maybe they need that extra 20, 30 million in to get that money to do that next bit of the Sancho bit, and they've just not got it. And Solskjaer's kind of gone, well, I've got him, Dan, James, he'll do.
He's got knees.
Because he's got knees. He can play football. And because you can't sell Lingard, you can't sell anyone else. You've not been able to sell Phil Jones. You've not been able to sell Rojo because you've given them ridiculous contracts. He's not on that bad of a contract. Can you sell him? Maybe that's the point.
It's crazy because United we've kind of been criticising how we've not been able to get rid of the deadwood. I know not everyone likes that term, or get rid of the players that are not really, that are surplus to requirements, better way of putting it. But it's just the fact that they haven't garnered that much interest from other clubs. There's nothing to say that we haven't been trying to shop them or get rid of them, but is it not showing what the quality is like at United, the fact that you've got players that have played how many games for a club like us and they still can't get any potential buyers?
The thing is that we're a team that finish anywhere from 6th to 2nd on any given season. We aren't a team full of shit players who can't get a game for any club in Europe. Like the problem is the money they're on. It's not the quality. Like Phil Jones would be great for Burnley or great for Bayer Leverkusen or whatever. We've got there's enough quality to fill the spaces of teams below us in the league and in other leagues. The problem is he's on 200 grand a week or whatever, 150, whatever it is. That's why we can't get rid of him. Not because they're not good enough. Rojo would get a game for, most League One sides. Yeah. We've got players that have got quality. These players have kept us anywhere from sort of 6th to 2nd over the last 3 or 4 years. They're not that bad. Yeah. They're not good enough to push us onto a title challenge or, maybe get us in the first team. Now we've replaced them with better players, but they would play for most teams in Europe still. The problem is the sorts of teams that they're good enough to play for, i.e. Schalke, i.e. Toulouse or Toulon, whoever it is in France, they don't have 150 grand a week available for a centre back. That's the problem. It's not that they're shit; it's that we've paid them too much.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's a comment in here from Anish Joshi, one of our members. Sell Jones to Fulham. They desperately need defence.
But
the problem is that Phil Jones
what you said.
would be. There's a thing here. Phil Jones on
Mitrovic.
£120,000 a week. Phil Jones is on. That would probably be Fulham's highest paid player.
Yeah.
For Phil Jones, who would be good for them, but I don't think he would be their best.
Phil Jones would be
well,
good
do you
for
think
Fulham.
it's an instance then where these players that are on these monumental wages at United, and obviously they would have potential buyers that are not scared off by their wages? Do you think it's a situation where they might see that they're at the point of their career or desperate point in their career where they might potentially take a bit of a pay cut, or the players, or the players these days just don't really see it like that?
I think Sanchez did that, didn't it? It took him a year, but he's gone to Inter Milan, and by all accounts, he's on less money than he was. You'd assume the same would be the case for Chris Smalling. You'd assume for different players it'd be different, but all the players who we're looking to sell are late 20s at least, if not in their 30s. So they've all had 10 years of at least 30 grand a year. Like, these players are all set for life. Dan James is a bit different maybe because I know the money he's been on this year will have been great, and he'll have been on good money his whole life. But he's only 22. If he goes back to the Championship and goes down to 20 grand a week again,
It's not huge.
it's great money, but it's not. My family is set for generations money like you get if you stay at United for another 5 years.
Especially when you live to your means, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
exactly,
I get where you're coming from.
We've had a super chat from Duncan and Tammy Hawkins. 690.
Hello to the both of you.
It's funny how the owners love their money but waste so much on player contract with subpar players wasting millions. Contradiction. And I think
that is true. That
it is, but at the
That's
same
true.
time, I think there's a lot of it is. I think their model is that, if we sign a player up, then we've got them on. When we sell them, we'll get more money for them. I think that was their idea to it, but they've not realised that you kind of get stuck with players. Now, the thing with Sanchez was that you had to, what they've not realised is that you have to spend money. United had to spend money on contracts because that was the only way you were getting certain players in when we weren't playing our best. I think Sanchez would have gone to City if it wasn't for the money kind of thing, or would have gone elsewhere. But players that aren't Alexis Sanchez, you shouldn't be offering Phil Jones 120 grand a week when he's not at that level. He should just be running a contract out and going. Now the Glazers would look at that as we've not got any money back for that. But at the same time, then they wouldn't be in the position we're in now, which is we're stuck with players.
Someone's
It's like
taking
what-
£5 million a year off you.
Yeah,
instead.
exactly.
It's like what I mentioned earlier, really. It's when you've got high wages for players that don't necessarily deserve it, cause numerous amount of problems. I spoke earlier with Alex about in the preview that's going to go out tomorrow about whether you would start Henderson or De Gea. And obviously Henderson's kind of on his shoulder. He's been performing well, and it's almost a toss-up between the two at the moment. But you can't, in a keeping position, you can't see De Gea being dislodged because can you afford to have a second-string goalkeeper on over 300 grand a week?
And this was the kind of the comments we were having over the summer about De Gea and Henderson. That I think that the Henderson thing is you could have probably maybe left it another year for him to not come back to United, but I think that you needed to offer him the contract and he wanted to fight for his place. And in the ideal world, he would have probably sold David De Gea, this summer. I think that would have been another option to do. But because we were in the position we were in when De Gea's contract was running out, which was we don't have anyone else and he is at this point our best player, we've gone overboard with his contract. So now he's on, was it 375 grand a week, 400 grand a week nearly? And now you're stuck with a very good player in David De Gea. I'm not saying it's a better player to be stuck with than most of the players than Sanchez on that kind of money. But at the same time, it leaves you no option. You don't have that option to go, you can sell him elsewhere. And almost, it's probably the similar kind of thing with Paul Pogba. I think that there is a team like Real Madrid that wants him. And I think that if Oli wanted to get rid of him this summer and Madrid said no, there isn't anybody else because we're paying him so much money. There isn't that option. Whereas City I think City do a little bit better with some of their contracts where they pay him slightly less. And things like Sane, they managed to get rid of him because he wasn't on 250, 260 grand a week. He was maybe on a little bit lower. And I think that Ollie's tried to fix that, but it could take 3 or 4 more years until we've got rid of the players like Jones, Rojo, that when their contracts just run out.
We've got a problem as well where, because we're a big side who expect to sign some of the best players in the world, when you aren't performing on the pitch, you have to give those players a bigger incentive to join your team.
Yeah, there's a super chat from Two Shot Tino.
Cheers.
A lot of
Two
our
Shot.
fringe players have no chance of getting an international place. Sanchez has a chance, so he wants 13 football. It's another factor. Yeah, that is a big
what's the
point.
incentive for
Like
these
Phil
players?
Jones,
loads
and
of factors.
Phil Jones, realistically, if he went to Newcastle, even if he had a good season, he's not going to make his way back into the England setup.
No.
Chris
You
Smalling,
know how
even went.
you know how deluded footballers are. He probably still has. You feel like he has an outside
But even,
chance.
I mean, he's got.
He's got more of a chance.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
He must look
exactly.
at Chris Smalling and go, do you know what? He had a really good season last season, and there wasn't even. He might get called up, might
No,
not.
there
Wasn't
wasn't
even
a
a
rumour
rumor of it. So Phil Jones isn't gonna get back into it. Rojo plays a lot for Argentina.
Argentina.
You could kind of see, but he went back this summer this year to Argentina.
That is true. That is a factor. It's one of
Yeah.
those where these players are kind of looking at it as if they're not playing for their
Yeah.
respective domestic teams.
Yeah.
Then their national teams are going to look at him like, you're not getting games. You're not worthy of a call up.
Whereas Alexis Sanchez will probably, what will it be, 34 when the next World Cup comes around in 2021 or 2022? He'll probably still play in that.
Also,
Yeah.
I think the Copa America holds a bit more esteem than even the Euros does for us. I think that Chile especially have won that a couple of times. I think with him,
Yeah.
I think he really wants to play in that again.
Yeah.
So, but no,
But I know that we go over this and we keep going over it, and we're going to keep going over it until Monday, I'm sure, and then it will keep going over it till the 15th when the British transfer window shuts. Because no doubt when we don't get Sancho, we'll be linked with Sarr from Watford. We'll be linked with
David
whoever. Yeah, David Brooks. We'll be linked with a multitude of lower level players from Britain, and then we'll get to the end of that deadline and not sign anyone as well. But the fact that I know that we've non-stop basically talked about the shadows and the echoes of the 2018 transfer window. But the fact that we've literally signed a central midfielder, a fullback, and we've brought a goalkeeper back, like when they signed Dallo, Fred.
we got an extra
Lee
loan
Grant.
for Regalo though. Don't forget that one.
I mean, can you believe just how much of a carbon copy this season is to that season? Finished well in the league, signed a midfielder, a fullback, and a goalie. A backup goalie. We've literally done the same this summer. It's staggeringly predictable, and
I think life's a simulation.
And
yeah, exactly.
And I
We've
still
hit the loop.
kind of
They
felt
accidentally hit loop.
Hit Luke by accident.
I still kind of felt that towards the end of that transfer window, if they'd have got that Maguire deal over the line, I think the lift would have
Jose
been
might
massive.
still be here.
Yeah, it would. I think he'd have gone a lot
He might
further
have.
than he did.
Because he could have won.
Because we've heard Mourinho say numerous times how he didn't get this, he didn't get that. he didn't
Well,
get
that
this.
was
Like,
it was literally once another centre half, and what makes it even crazier is the next summer we paid more money and
20 million more for the same
20
guy.
million and got the centre half. And again, it just seems like a strange thing that what are you going to do? Are you going to throw another manager under the bus almost and put the pressure on Ollie? I mean, I said last night on the Transfer Live show, and I got a text off it saying, you must be mad, because I said that if we don't get a right winger in, I don't see Ollie making it past Christmas. And that isn't on I don't trust Ollie to do things. I see it as this squad is going to be under so much pressure this year, because last year this squad got to have a rest in midweek in Europa League. They got to we got to be able to make 8-9 changes every week.
Can't do that.
You can't go to PSG and pay Phil Jones.
We can't do that in the next round of the Carabao either, because we've got Everton away. We can't do that even against fucking Istanbul Beşiktaş.
Well, that's it,
or
because
whatever.
those two games against PSG and RB Leipzig are going to be so hard. If we don't get six
Cam's having a
points,
giggle there.
No,
What are you
just got
laughing
top
about,
points
mate?
for my pronunciation
Yeah.
of Beşiktaş.
if we don't get 6 points in those
Much deserved.
games, we're going to be struggling. And
Yeah.
I don't think that when we saw when that squad had to play 2 games a week or 3 games a week before the lockdown, it's good, but it does start to tail off. We've signed one player that kind of can drop in and look all right in that squad. And I still think, we're missing squad depth. And that's my worry with it all, is that if we don't get players...
This is quite frustrating, though, because you're talking about carbon copy.
By the way, I mentioned a fullback then. We actually haven't even signed
No, we're
Tellers
not
yet.
game yet.
Just so you,
You know what?
that's
You know
what I was
what?
talking
When
about.
you said we signed a fullback, I was kind of thinking.
I mean,
oh,
the
I was
Tellers
thinking,
one looks
who
like
we
it might
signed,
well
who we
happen to
signed, who
me.
we signed,
That's
who
all
we
I'm
signed.
saying.
But you kind of just made that up.
Yeah.
You
Well,
sort of-
I'm thinking no, because I'm expecting the Tellers deal
Yeah.
to happen.
I think
Although
that
maybe
will.
not, because that's gone a bit quiet, isn't it?
No, but is it not? As I was going to say, you mentioned the carbon copy. You said you were frustrated,
Yes.
as we all are. Last season, we literally said before the season, the squad depth is terrible. If we get a few injuries, we basically fucked.
And we were.
This season, 4 days left to go before the season starts. Whilst finishing third and qualifying for the Champions League, we were reiterating the same what am I slurring?
He's drunk.
We are reiterating the same things. We're
Yeah.
literally saying we're going into the new season
Yeah.
with a squad that probably can't handle midweek games and then on the weekend. And then if you get 1 or 2 injuries in that, the squad starts to look even lighter.
And I think as well, you look at
Yeah.
last year as well, you had the opportunity where Chelsea couldn't strengthen, so they were worse than they were almost the year before. You had the opportunity where Tottenham completely capitulated. This year, you've had Arsenal strengthened, Chelsea have strengthened, Tottenham have had another year under Mourinho and have strengthened. Everton have strengthened. All these different clubs have spent a good amount of money, got a lot of players in, and I don't think the Premier League is generally stronger, but that 3rd place to 7th place is definitely... Even Wolves are strengthened. Wolves have signed a couple of players in as well, you know.
Even though they look shit, they're going to take some points off big teams.
Exactly. I think that level...
That's how they've always been, though.
That level has improved this year. You've got Liverpool Liverpool won the league so comfortably, and they've signed 3 players in this summer.
So basically what we're stating is every other club has shown ambition and aggression in the transfer window, and we've shown none of it. Because looking at Everton, I don't know where they're getting all their money from.
Their owner's put 300 million quid of his own money in the last 3 years. That's where they're getting their money from.
And
financial fair plays
and they've
ought
not
to
even
come down on
they've
them
not
like a
even done
fucking ton of
signing.
bricks anytime
They
soon.
they look pretty dangerous this season. Look like the most improved team so far, and they've just basically apparently signed, or on the verge of signing, Godfrey from Norwich for 30 million, the young centre back. It's like FIFA career mode for the likes of Chelsea and Everton, and then United are just stalling.
We're lucky Chelsea have got a bad manager, because that might stop them pushing on the way they should.
Yeah, that
also,
is true.
there is a case to be made, and obviously this is such a very small straw to grasp at, that putting too many new players into a first team takes time to bed them in. You're not guaranteed that those personalities and those playing styles are going to go well together, but you wouldn't swap our window for Chelsea's on the back that they might have bought too many players. Like, but that, I mean, literally, that's the hope I'm clinging on to, that Havertz and Ziyech and Werner and all these lot take a little bit of time to bed in together. Although I'm sure Havertz and Ziyech have been playing for...
I think I saw someone
Germany
say on
stuff
Twitter,
together,
like, Chelsea's team is like that 95 overall team on Ultimate Team, but there's red lines everywhere for chemistry.
Yeah.
It's basically what it is for them.
I'm hoping that's what it is.
Hopefully it continues.
Counterpoint, Pereira is in Lazio having his medical right now. He looks happy to be there. And it's complete.
It's all sorted.
It's complete. So that's
Yeah.
Pereira.
Cam,
gone.
I've seen you wear them.
There was never any question about that being sorted, was
No,
there?
and do you think that I mean, there's obviously the talk of us needing to strengthen. Do you think that Pereira going out actually puts any money in the coffers? Do you think that, or is that just because it's a loan?
Just it's just us being nice to him.
Just one less player to worry about.
Do you want to sit on the bench? No. All right, we'll try and get you a move.
Yeah.
Will we get any money for it? No. But if he's really good, we'll give you 23 million for him.
But
When's the last time you spent 23 million on anyone, Lazio? 2001. Okay, so that's not going to happen. No. Cool.
All right, so you are seeing it.
Have some of our depth for free.
That's what I'm saying. They've put in that loan to buy, saying, "Oh, we'll buy him for 27 million euros,"
You ain't
blah,
doing
blah,
no shit,
which they
mate.
never will.
If he scores 10 goals and gets 10 assists, they still ain't buying him for that.
So that
We've been
But
had again, boys.
you just know Edward was like, "Oh my days, we might get 27 million for it."
What did he say?
Forever.
27? Yeah, send him. Do we get any money for him? No. Right.
Nah.
See you later. No loan fee. Fucking note.
We're probably still paying 70% of his wage, probably.
No, I think that was debunked, but I won't be surprised. The whole rest of the window. Can we talk a little bit about how much the rest of this window has brought into sharp focus what exactly the fuck happened with that Van der Beek deal? How did we get that done in 3 days? Do you know why that happened?
We know why. We know why.
Because Van der Sar did it for us. That's why it happened. We didn't even do that deal.
No.
That's so obvious now. That deal was the biggest fluke in football history. Man United, this same board that has done what we've seen over the last 10 years, and specifically the last 3 years, got a deal done in a weekend. Like buying a postcard off a rack when you go to the fucking Lake District. That's what Van der Beek was. How much is it? $2.99? Yes.
Is it
Scan
24 hours?
Beep. Contact
Van der
less, it's
Sar-
unlimited.
Van der
43
Sar.
million. Beep. That was it.
Lay
Van
on
der
the
Sar
plate.
did that deal for us. He put the things on there, sign there, and he's like, really? Yes, sign it. Well, we don't have to do anything. We don't have to fuck it up. No, we'll do this one. Done. That's it. That can be the only reason. We have never got a deal done in a weekend. We go to the end of every single window without the targets that we want. And this time, for some reason, when we've got the ex-Man United guy in there who's sorting the deal out for us, we get it done like that. There's your coincidence, isn't it?
But anyway,
No.
what I will say, you said we wait until the end of the transfer window all the time,
Sick of
and
it.
we long it
all.
out. I know you're vexed, man. It's all right.
I'm vexed, man.
Hey, I know you're vexed.
I'm vexed.
I know you're vexed, but Joe, it'll be
I'm
okay.
motherfucking vexed.
Joe, it'll be okay, mate.
Go on.
Is there any possibility? I'll let you calm down, Alex.
Go on,
Alex,
mate. Yeah,
anyway.
go on.
Is there any possibility
Yeah.
that, as you've probably mentioned before, that United have kind of let this drag on until the end of the transfer window to maximise engagement?
That
That could be the only saving grace. That possibly might be the reason.
That is my conspiracy. Is that
That
if
your
we sign
conspiracy. Talk me through it then,
Sancho
Alex.
on the last day of the season, it's so that what Wood was going is right. If we don't do this for a bit, right, everyone's going to be tweeting Man United, and every time we put a video out, they're going to put sign Sancho under it. So when we actually sign Sancho, that hashtag will be fucking doing really well.
The SEO on that.
The SEO is ridiculous.
Which, for those of you who don't know, means search engine optimization.
So-
basically, the more people who put something on the internet, the higher the ranking that has in terms of like search results
And the thing is,
people finding it.
It's a really
Sort of.
sad thing, that, but I'm kind of hoping it's true.
So tell us again. I know you told us the other day, but tell us again the story of
So-
why you think that might be the case.
Well, when I was a university student a long, long time ago, I did a thing on
Wait,
United.
how old are you again?
Don't
I'm joking. Go on.
38.
Yeah.
No, but I did a thing on United's finances and stuff like that, and in their investor pack, they put on it that that the Alexis Sanchez deal got more engagement than the Luis Suarez deal that summer, and and then they mentioned like 6 other transfers and showed a graph saying this is what the Sanchez deal did, this is what the rest of the deals did, and this is the most important thing. Look what we as a club can do. And do you think if we'd have signed Sancho on August 10th, they'd have missed out on so many tweets because everyone would have just gone, well, we've done now.
And
Fuck
the reason why that's important is because I know obviously this is obvious to us and to you, but what they do then is they put all the numbers together. So anytime that anyone has ever linked Sancho to Man United, whether that's as a response to Man United's tweets, because people are constantly saying, announce Sancho, fuck off with this highlights package, give us Sancho, they add all of those up, all of the likes on those tweets, and count this as engagement. And then what they do is they put this all in a big bundle and they go to Sony or they go to Chivas
Chevrolet.
Regal or Chevrolet and say, here's what we can offer you. This many, look at this, the Jadon Sancho deal, which we can plaster your logo all over, did 6 billion interactions on social media. So that means you need to give us more money for this sponsorship deal that we're asking from. That's why it matters. It's not just like, oh, look how many views we got. The more interaction, the more engagement that our social media gets as Man United, the more money we get. So that's why it may actually be possible.
Yeah,
Because there's a monetary reason
there is,
behind
and
it.
there's
It possibly is. I can see it, but
I don't necessarily think it's true, but I'm sure
it
that
could
there's
be.
definitely something that goes. There's definitely something that goes through the back of their mind saying, if we do this right now, we've got 2 months of no tweets about this, and I think that's definitely there's definitely no tweets, there's no posts, there's no, and I definitely think there's something in that. Now, we've known before that that's their most important thing. They don't really they care about what happens on the pitch, but to a point. They're not like pushing us
Still
to
a
be
business,
the best.
isn't it?
It's still a business, and I think that they definitely influence things like that. Whether that'll happen with Jadon Sancho, I don't know.
Because it is very interesting the way that, as you've mentioned, engagement-wise and media-wise, United have absolutely dominated the transfer window so far without actually dominating it for the right reasons. So it is kind of
the
the conspiracies
we get
are
more
there.
clicks and likes and views than anyone, even though we've only signed one player.
Yeah.
1.5,
I mean, there was a thing about
tell us, look, maybe
there was that video on where there was someone followed Romano around and did a thing about that, and he said, I'm going to tweet about a Man United player now. Everyone, it goes mad every time I do.
He said it to us.
Yeah. Whether it's Chris Smalling going somewhere, whether it's someone being linked, and I'm saying no. That tweet for me does more than anybody else.
Who was it that I told? I don't know if it's. I think it might have been you, or don't know who else I told. I think it might have been Cal actually. No one really no one really cares that much about the Pereira loan to Lazio and all that dealings or whatever.
Yeah.
Romano tweeted about the interest from Lazio to loan to buy 27 million euros, and he got like 35,000 likes on that tweet.
And that's
and
like
I'm like,
nothing deal.
and, like
and not just that, it's
deal.
someone's liking that and saying, what about Sancho though? That's what every single one of them does. And it's, I don't know. the other thing is maybe I'm clinging on to this kind of theory because
Hope.
it means that we actually get Jadon Sancho
Do you want
in
me
the
to be
end.
completely honest with you? In my head, I haven't given up on Jadon Sancho.
Neither have I.
I think we will sign him. If I'm being completely honest, I believe we will sign Jadon Sancho.
Monday morning,
the summer.
they're just going to go.
Yeah, I think it's
There you
going to happen. And this is how annoyed I am and frustrated I am now. If we actually don't sign him, for fuck's sake, if we actually don't sign him, I will be stunned. Honestly, I'll be completely blown away if we don't sign him because genuinely, I still think we will. If I'm being honest, I'm being sceptical and I can see all the reasons why it wouldn't happen. Honestly, my actual opinion of this deal is that it still will happen because I can't let myself believe it won't. But if it doesn't,
I'm in the
I
same.
said your
I'm
voice.
gonna
Your
throw
voice.
a hedgehog at
Did
a
you hear?
bus.
Did you hear the voice crack at the
There
end
was
of
no
that?
voice crack.
You did.
The only thing that cracked in here was I don't know
Your
bants,
butt. Your butt.
banter.
My-
Your bants, mate.
Anyway,
No, I'm the same. I'm like, I've not prepared myself for.
Nah.
If we don't get someone in like Jadon Sancho, I don't know what's next.
I've buried my head in the sand.
this is now.
I actually,
all right.
if we don't
Like an
sign him,
emu.
I'll lose
This
it.
is how we can move on to
And
discussion.
nothing will
Go on.
happen.
This
Go
is
on.
perfect
Go on.
segue.
Perfect.
You basically have just stated that you're confident that we will get Sancho. Still,
I'm
not
not
confident, but you're clinging on to
I
hope.
believe we will. Yeah.
We might get rid
Maybe.
of Daniel James.
Yes.
Well, one possibility of someone that we might be bringing in still is Dembele. And I don't.
Should we?
The body language change.
Do you know what we should get, Ronaldo? Here's what I would say. If we're we can't get. Let's imagine in a world we can't get Jadon Sancho because we ain't got the money. Should we get? I'm going to give you some characteristics, and you say whether this sort of player would be right for Manchester United in the current climate of what Ole's trying to build. Would you like an injury-prone player that is, he's on a lot of money. He's on a hell of a lot of money. He's already rejected joining Manchester United once this window and is being forced out of the club that he wants to prove himself at to play for us. Is that the sort of profile of a player you'd like?
That is 100% not the profile.
Right. Okay. So for me, I wouldn't be that interested in Ousmane Dembele.
But it's just weird how all of a sudden he's changed his mind. Apparently, that he's more willing to do the deal. Just when probably Barcelona have sat him down in the last couple of days and said, "Mate, we don't really want you here." So,
but he didn't already reject it. Reportedly, already reject a potential loan from Liverpool and from United. He
rejected Liverpool. He rejected Juve, and he rejected
Juve, I like that.
He rejected them, and he rejected Liverpool. I just said and United because as when we spoke to Mohamed Bouhafsi, is that
Bouhafsi.
Bouhafsi? I've never pronounced his surname correctly, but a suave guy, nice guy though. But obviously, catch the Tier 1 podcast, so it's there. I'm going to plug that. I'm sure Cam will plug that, please. Can you plug that, please? Cheers, mate. But speaking to him, he said he knows Dembele quite well.
He acted like he's like mates with him almost.
Like he's mates with him almost.
Yeah,
and he literally said Dembele is desperate to prove himself at Barcelona.
know.
Barcelona is more or less his boyhood dream of a club that he wants to go to. And he very much feels like he's got unfinished business there. So it makes you question his motivation and mentality if he does actually move to United. But then again, you could look at the positive side of it and think maybe it'd come with an added incentive of kind of proving the world wrong. I know what it might not be a great comparison, but we're talking about injury prone. We're talking about players that went to Spanish footballing giants. Look at the revelation that James Rodriguez has been at Everton. When everyone wrote him off and said he's not been the same since 2014, he's been injury prone, etc. He looks like the man of old, and who's to say that Dembele can't refine that form that he had before he got his move to Barcelona? Because it's not. Don't get me wrong, it's not the easiest place to go and play,
especially recently.
I chatted with this about to Jay last night. You know, there's players like Griezmann that have kind of been in the shadow of Messi and not quite stood out and done okay there. And there's a lot of players that have gone in. Even Coutinho, I don't think he was horrendous there, but because Messi's there, there is this pressure of you're the man that's going to come in and replace Messi, or you're going to be part of the replacing the Messi. And if it doesn't work, there is a lot of pressure. I think the worry is for me is the money element to it. If we have to sign him, I think you're looking at that kind of writes off Sancho because we're
that
already
sweet obligation to buy.
The obligation to buy is no good.
No.
Here's the other bit. Dembele's Barcelona's 8th highest paid player. Do you know how much money he's on at Barcelona?
200 grand a week.
230,000 euros a week.
Cheap old boy, isn't he? And so per game, that's probably what 600 grand a game that he plays for you because he's missing 2/3 of the games in any given season.
Last season.
600 grand a game, worth it. well worth it. And he does decent numbers in terms of goals and assists. He's very quick. He's 2-footed. He's a skillful.
Do you know
player.
why me and Jay are against him though? He was the reason why Liverpool went back
Yeah, I'm
and
agree.
beat Barcelona.
I said to Jay last night, if he arrives and if he definitely gets given number 7,
He'll get cheered at Anfield.
He needs to come out and do an apology to all
Literally.
Manchester United fans.
Do you know what? He got played in, right? I don't know if you remember in the Champions League game.
I think we might remember that one. Yeah,
3-0, 4-0 up.
3-0 up.
He's there to bury the game. He probably would have buried the tie.
And he passed it back.
And he just passed it back. And I'll never forgive him for it. In fact, now that I think about it, I don't want Dembele. I can't believe he did it. Nah.
You already knew about this.
Nah, listen, no, but it's just dawned on me.
Please timestamp.
I can't believe he did that. Do
I know.
you know what I'm saying?
It's unforgivable.
He let the
isn't it?
Scousers off the hook.
It's
And that is
unforgivable.
It's
an
not good.
unforgivable offence.
I know. And they, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
If they'd have gone on to get pasted in the final again, like they did against Madrid, it would have been one thing. But the fact that they went on to win it, yeah, it's his fault. He won Liverpool a European Cup. How can we ever have him in the side? At least Michael Owen had the courtesy to only win him a UEFA Cup in 2001. He wouldn't have dared win them a Champions League
Because he knew what to come to Man
because he
United
knew he
at
wanted to
some
come to
point.
Man United 10 years later. For God's sake.
Someone just said, "Well done, Ronaldo. I knew you'd get there."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
We're
think, "Nah,
signing
I don't
a-
want him."
Sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah, sometimes
Well,
you have
get to
to put the words out in the air and
Yeah.
then hear them back to know exactly why you don't want someone at the club.
I wouldn't. If we don't get Sancho, I wouldn't mind it on loan for a season with no obligation. You can't have the obligation to
Do you-
buy.
do you know what-
shit
Is
in it.
getting Dembele on loan, essentially you're getting the same player as Alexis Sanchez on loan.
At least he's on loan.
Doesn't
though.
want to be there, on too much money, injury prone. Is he even that good when he's not injured? I know he is good, but Dembele's never had a season like Sanchez had at Arsenal.
I think one
Like,
of listen.
He hasn't.
Do you know what also is against Dembele is I think one of his main actual highlights of his career is knocking the ball and running past Kyle Walker. I think that's what people. I think when I've spoke about Dembele to people, that's did you not see that time in the World Cup or a few years ago where he's blasted the ball down line and ran past Kyle Walker? I'm like, yeah, great.
He's
Yeah.
quick.
He's
He
quick.
is quick.
Usain
What
Bolt.
are the comments saying about
There's
Ousmane
people
Dembele?
not happy. There's Ryan Edwards saying Barca are falling apart. I don't
Yeah.
actually see Dembele allowed to leave. I think there's a little bit of that, but I don't know. He played 9 times last year. Someone saying Dan
can't
James
see.
is quick.
Dan James is quick. Yeah,
There
if
you
you
go.
want someone to knock the ball past Kyle Walker, Dan James has done a bit
there's
of
people
a...
saying I'd rather Sarr, and I
But then
tend
you're
to
signing
agree.
Sarr, innit? Fabrizio Romano's tweeted a little bit ago saying that's it about Sancho. Jadon himself always wanted to join Man United, as we know. Agreed personal terms by July. It's 120 million euros or nothing. Ole also knows how difficult it is to sign him in the last days. Man United are still in talks with Barcelona for Dembele. Talk about kicking the bollocks.
Yeah, I can see how elated Joe is.
It's just not fun, is it?
Yeah, and it is
Yes.
again. It's just funny how it's always
Is
like, why is it always like FIFA players? I know I keep saying this. Why don't we ever sign? I know Dan James was a left field signing, or right field as he's turned out to be. But why can't we sign like? Why didn't we get Sarr before he went to Watford? Why didn't we get Mahrez before he went to Leicester? Why didn't we like? When's the last time United? Honestly, right?
Okay.
When is the last
There's an
time
easy answer for that.
Manchester United signed a player that after 3 or 4 years at the club was worth like triple their value that we bought him for? Ronaldo's the first one that springs to mind. What was that 2007, 6?
Yep.
Do
He
you know
was
why?
obviously worth a lot more very quickly. When's the last time we signed?
Because
someone that
when
really
United-
went mad in terms of
but-
like we signed him for this and now they're worth this. We either like Martial, he's gone up to like 50, 60 million because all the add-ons have been there. Same with Bruno, who was quite cheap, but I think we have to pay 63 million euros now because of he got us in the Champions League and the goals he scored. When's the last time we got someone and that was a real hidden gem that proved to be brilliant?
There's an obvious answer though,
What?
because as a club like United feels added pressure on hitting on any transfer that they do.
Yeah.
And quite often those hidden gems you're talking about, they're gambles. Secondly, look at United from like a merchandise kind of sales position.
Yeah.
They know the benefits of buying superstars. So that's kind of
Yeah, that's
they're
true.
going to buy players for their name. They're going to buy players for who they are because they'll sell shirts. I think that's partly what they're thinking at the same time. It's just
Who is the last one? And,
it's
I mean,
not
obviously, we've had players
often-
come through the
yeah.
youth. You know, Rashford would be worth 100 million, and Greenwood would be worth probably close to that. We've had players come through the youth side.
Is he? How much do you reckon Greenwood's worth now?
Oh, 70 at least. At least 70
Yeah.
million. Mason. If you want a Mason Greenwood, he's Yeah,
I
Yeah, I'd
think
say
on the
it's
contract
70
it's
70 million.
It's ridiculous.
I was having an argument. No, the
Here's
reason
one.
why I asked you, yeah.
De Gea would be.
De Gea would, yeah. De Gea's a good
De
shout.
Gea would have been. De Gea's a good one.
Yeah, we
That's
got
a
him
good
for what was
shout from
it?
Jamie.
But we still, what was it? 23 million.
Yeah. Ronaldo
Yeah,
tweeted
10 years
today,
ago.
also about Chris Smalling. Meeting right now between Roma and United by intermediaries. They don't like to talk to each other. I don't think any.
No.
I don't think United have anyone that actually does. Maybe Woodward has just sent this out to someone else to do. Maybe I really can't be arsed with this. For Chris Smalling, the agreement is really close to be completed, around 16 million euros. Roma are also asking again for Diogo Dalot on loan. United want to sell him on a permanent deal.
Hey, listen, anyway, what I did want to mention is how many listen.
All right. We'll
Nah,
move on
obviously
from
we can
that
speak
Come
about
back
that,
to
but
that. We've talked about Chris Smalling.
how many
leaving
people have we
already.
got watching this?
3,500 people.
So why have we only got 323 likes,
That's
people?
a great point, Ronaldo.
Nah, hey, it's kind of
done
bothering me a
it,
little
it's done
bit.
it.
Like the
Listen.
video. If we get to 1,000 likes, we'll sign Jadon Sancho. We'll pay it because we've got loads
And
of
here's a
money.
second wager.
We'll pay it.
Like the video if you
Imagine.
don't like the video if you don't want us to sign Dembele, and if you do want us to sign Dembele, like the video as well.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
There
So
you go. There you go.
just like the video really.
Yeah,
But,
please like the video. It helps out a lot.
Thank you.
Chris Smalling, yeah, he's going, and we'll get it done.
Yep.
We'll probably do
you
some
think-
big tweet about
Yeah.
what trophies, FA Cup, League Cup, Europa
Premier
League,
League.
Premier League.
Won the
Goodbye
Premier
to
League.
Chris Smalling, you big vegan bastard. That's what. And the tweet will get 600 likes. And then you tweet one thing. Romano tweets, United still won't pay the money for Sancho, and it gets 30k
Billions of
likes. I feel bad for Chris Smalling. In fact, actually, I feel happy for Chris Smalling that he gets to leave and actually be wanted at a place because he's a good defender. As a defender, defending, he's good.
Yeah, you just can't play football.
Can't play football, but
No.
he is a good defender,
He can head the
and
ball.
I'm sure he'd be very good in Italy. And again, it goes to show you
To be
done
fair,
it.
well, if 16
Chiellini
million
all these
euros,
years
is that, we'll make a
overrated.
profit on Chris Smalling, won't we?
Yeah, I'm
12
talking
million
like
quid?
I'm talking like 3 times their value that we bought them for to sell them. I
Someone
know, and there's also a point to be made. I appreciate that United, like you said, Ronaldo, tend to buy the finished article. We're not the sort of team that buy young players in and sell them. I appreciate that, but when's the last time we really got a gem that we bought that was then worth one more? Do you know the last one I can think of before De Gea? Paul Pogba, and we only know he's worth 90 million because we fucking paid it for him.
This is what. No, but when you talk about finished articles and hidden gems, how
Yeah.
often do big clubs actually find them?
Well, Dortmund find them all the time. I think
Leicester
look at
seem to find them.
Leicester find them all the time.
But is that because them clubs have less pressure on hitting on all their transfers?
Yeah, of
They
course.
can kinda
I
that's the
appreciate
issue.
that. I do appreciate that we have to buy players that are good enough to play for Man United.
Because think about when
and
we
you pay
actually,
more for that.
when have we actually tried to do it and it's not happened? The person that comes to mind is the Bebe.
No, Dan James, Bebe,
No.
Obertan.
Bebe was meant
Raphael
to be
and
the
Fabio.
hidden gem
I
that would
wouldn't
turn
put Dan
out.
James in Bebe.
No, I won't put them together, but
I'm talking about players that cost less than 20 million that didn't
nah.
end up being worth any more than that. I'm not saying that they're both the same, of the same quality.
I don't think clubs of United's ilk often
No, I do
will
appreciate
find
that.
hidden gems.
And
But
someone said that if we hadn't fucked up the contract, Ander Herrera would have been worth more than what we sold him.
yeah,
bought
definitely.
What would we buy him for? 23 million?
Do you think he's worth more than 23
He wouldn't have
million
gone to PSG for much more than that. Do you think?
Nah, I
Ander
think,
Herrera at 30. I don't think he ever would have sold for much more than we bought him for. Not that he was a bad player, but he wasn't like Mahrez. What they get him for 300 grand or something. Sold him for 56
quid?
million.
We just can't do that, can we?
No, and I
Unacceptable.
appreciate if we did get a gem like that, we wouldn't sell him because we need to keep top players. But
Yeah.
you just think like we're just buying like Ousmane Dembele. Like, what kind of inventiveness does it take to scout him? What kind of thinking? What kind of thinking? The sort of French wonder kid from
This is
4
it,
years
hey.
ago. That's who we're
I'm
going
gonna
for.
reiterate. I'm just gonna say it again. You're a vexed man, innit?
I'm stressed because it's getting close now. It's Monday. It's 3 days away. It's not like at the start of the week I was like, right, big week coming up. Let's hear some big moves starting Tuesday. Let's get Smalling done. Let's get Dalot out the door if you don't like him. Let's hear the sort of advanced talks. United come back to Sancho with a bigger deal. Dortmund are considering it. We haven't heard any of it. No. We haven't heard anything. We're not close to Sarr. We're not close to any sort of striker that we apparently wanted. We're not close to a centre-back. Tellez has stalled or has at least no real updates in the last couple of days. Sancho looks further away than it did 12 months ago.
Good, isn't it?
It isn't good. It's shit. And this whole thing of, it's not Ollie's fault. It's been thrown under the bus. Even James Ducker tweeting it, who is Mr. Woodward. Here's a story and run it for me, please. James Ducker saying this isn't Ollie's fault. He said time and time again, the board know what I want. We need to improve the squad. We're trying our best to improve the squad. That sentiment only lasts until we're 6th at Christmas. And at that point, who cares? Ollie out. And we just go through manager after manager because it's so much easier to replace one man in the manager than it is to replace everyone above him who keeps fucking it up time and time again.
So we've had a super chat.
It's not all right.
We've had a super chat from
Don't touch me.
Rashiraj Gupta. We will be the banter club. We will be the banter club till this board stay in. Till this board stay in. If we couldn't sign Sancho.
What currency is that, by the way?
We will be a banter club. There are more banter clubs than us.
Why didn't we strengthen other areas? What about the outgoings? Rojo, Jones, Lingard, Mata, awfully shocking. And
now we did speak.
Do not speak about one.
The issue is nobody wants to buy them. That is the problem.
You've just turned
the screen off, Cam. Well done.
Yeah.
And will you zoom in on that because I can't see it?
I know what it is. It's the merry. Gary Neville has liked this. There's been a thing going around the last few weeks.
Go on, read it out.
About it's the merry-go-round at Manchester United,
Go on.
which is the. Let me find it, Mr. McCullough tweeted it. Before.
So what it is
hire new manager. We'll start top left corner.
Hire new manager, and it's a flow chart. So arrow to arrow to arrow.
Flow
chart. Hire new manager, make 3 or 4 signings they want, get Champions League football, make no signings, and release a search for a director of football article. Get 6th because of lack of reinforcements. Sack the manager for poor performance. Hire new manager.
Fuck,
and
man.
repeat.
That is
Decent.
how stressful is that when you look at that?
I know it's true.
How stressful is that when you look at that flow chart? It's like fucking rinse and repeat.
I know. And we are.
That
What
is
stage are we at
terrible.
now? Cam, just turn that back around again. We are at make no signings and release a search for a director of football article. So we're two moves away from sacking Ole.
Yeah, we need to play bad in the next few weeks, and that'll be that. We've had another super chat from Shushant Dar. Pretty sure nothing significant is going to happen. Owners are more concerned about taking dividends than running the club properly. That's just true, and that's it.
It is true.
That is what it is.
We've had enough time to see that now, haven't we? And I know that we spent a lot of money under Van Gaal, and he got loads of signings in, but even just the way they went, like when you talk about planning a club like Man United, one of the few clubs, I know every club likes to say there's a style of play, there's a history, there's a heritage. Fucking West Ham like to say it because they had 2 players in the England squad who won the World Cup. They like to act like they've got a style of play. When actually, United are one of the few clubs with, here's how you play, here's a rough guide as to how you play football, here's a rough guide as the emphasis you have to put on youth, here's a rough guide as, you go from Van Gaal, who's one way of playing, to Jose Mourinho, who's a completely different way of playing, to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So you're spending all this money, you've wasted it because you had no coherent plan. You had nothing that was going to take us from this decade to that decade. It's literally just what makes sense this year, we'll do that. Unless it means, spending money on a manager who succeeded. That's one thing that they consistently do is underfund good managers.
We've had a tweet from Christian Falk. Right now,
Go on then.
Still true. No bid for Sancho from Manchester United. Michael Zorc, head of sport from Borussia Dortmund, confirmed. We have already said everything on this subject, and nothing will change in the next 3 days.
Do you think that means that
what does that mean? What do we expect him to say? We might
when he says we've already said everything, do you think he means to United or to the public? Because he's come out and said publicly that he's not for sale and that it's not happening. But when he says we've already said everything on this subject, do you think he means we've told United it's 120 million or fuck off? Do you think he means that, or do you think he means we've told you publicly Sancho will be here next season? That's not going to change. Which one do you think it is?
I think it's we've told United that it's 120 million.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep telling you he's not for sale. But it is.
Because of course we would. No one's ever. I've never seen a club come out and say, except when Real Madrid tried to get rid of Bale last year, and they were like, but Zidane was like, we're trying to find somewhere for him to go, and then they didn't.
Does anyone have enough money?
Right wing Madrid? Not surprising.
I don't know. It's bad, isn't it?
Anyway.
Everyone's it's the same thing constantly.
I feel like we need to give our guy Joe time to go calm down a little bit.
Well,
we've brought you in for the podcast, and we feel like we just riled up your blood pressure a little bit.
We've only got, what is it, maybe another week of this? Oh no, we haven't, because we've got till the 15th when the British transfer window shuts.
Well, unless we sign Sancho and Tellers, then
if we sign Sancho before Monday, then this can come down to this, and we can smile again. But
We have a
in
yoga
theory,
session
we've got
on Tuesday,
basically
that
3
is.
days of this level of stress, and then we can relax a bit because even at best we're going to get Saar in for 40 million, who good player, but
Yeah.
the one that
like, oh.
needs to happen, we've got 3 days of stressing, and then we can calm down a bit, and then we can worry about being Ole in despite.
So I'm saying we've got.
all evidence to the contrary.
I feel like we've got a very important 4 days ahead of us. Obviously,
Yeah.
Tottenham game on Sunday,
Forgot about that.
deadline day on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we've got a super chat, but we do also
got-
need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been doing
mate.
it
Soft, mate. You
hour and a
got it.
half.
Have we kept you?
hour and a half,
Um,
and I've lost
we've got-
all hearing in my right
We've
ear. So,
I think that's for you, mate.
look at his face.
We've had a super chat from Prakar who has said, "Why are we looking for Dembele? With all due to respect, he's too injury prone. We need Sancho, nothing else. No one else
Mm-hmm.
needs to put Ollie because Board is not." And that's true. United fans need to get behind Ollie because if you don't, like I said, that little circle, the never-ending circle, keeps happening. And the best way to go about that right now is just to support Ollie and just say, look, we know that it's not your fault.
It won't
It's not the
matter.
player's fault. But it said it won't matter.
There is no manager. I mean, Ole, of course, hasn't won any major trophies. He's won a couple of leagues in Norway, and that's about it. There is no manager, as we saw with Jose Mourinho, that doesn't have enough of a weakness that finishing sixth will not exploit in terms of the fan base.
Yeah.
The thing with Jose was he'd won trophies everywhere he'd been. He'd won trophies with us, and it took a few weeks of him falling out with people because that's his weakness, that you go, he's done, he's finished, you got to get him out. Louis van Gaal, the same thing. He'd finished in good positions with us. He'd won trophies with us, but because it looked as though maybe he was coming to the end of his career as a manager, there's a big enough weakness. Let's get him out. Let's get Jose in. Ole, he can do what he wants with this club. He finishes third. He makes good signings consistently, but because he's never won anything else, there's enough of a weakness for the cracks in finishing sixth to find, and he'll be gone. There's literally no manager, unless Sir Alex Ferguson came back, but even then people will be saying he's too old, we've got to sack him. There is no manager that is safe enough to escape the wrath of finishing sixth, even if you're not being backed. So he's gone. No matter how much we get behind him, if he doesn't finish in the top four this season, he'll get sacked. And it's shit. And because it could be any manager, it doesn't even matter that it's Ole. It just happens to be a club legend who we all like.
Set your reminders for 10 o'clock tonight. Joe does
That's what I'm saying.
live, where he's in a really good mood usually.
That's what that was literally what
I'll
I was
have
about
had a
to
few
say.
cans by
Will
then,
you
so I will
make
be in a
it?
good
Will
mood.
you make it to your Friday
Yeah, I
Night
will.
Live?
I will do.
1,000 Joes and 1,000 likes before we go. and
1,000
Joe will
Joes.
smile.
Yeah. 1,000 likes and a smile.
Yeah.
1,000 likes, or he doesn't do his live. Actually, no, you will
Oh.
do it. No, you do it anyway. You do it
I'm
anyway.
doing it for 3 likes.
No,
I'm doing it for love nor money. I don't know what that means.
but this has been it. You've got anything else to say, or is that
Take
it?
it away, mate.
Save
Take
it.
it away.
Take
Alright.
it away,
Take it away,
Ronaldo.
Listen,
Ronaldo.
all right. This has been Devil's Podcast. It's been a very eventful one,
Tumultuous.
so to say. But
Tumultuous.
we've got an interesting 4 days left, and I don't know about you, but I'm kind of worried now. I feel
Oh,
like
are ya?
I feel like
Yeah.
you've riled up my worries
No,
even more than it was.
I'm cool, calm, and collected, mate. Can't you tell?
But remember to like, comment, subscribe if you're new. This was Devil's Podcast, and I'll see you later.